right, Beau, we're live, man. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wouldn't say so much as I'm getting into Hyrox, but maybe I'm watching it more and I've been using the rower and stuff a bit more. So it's something I'm interested in. So I'm looking forward to chatting to you today, man.
Nice. Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Now, well, I thought we could start. It just seems like I've been in the fitness space for a while. I feel like, I don't know, over 10 years now, I've been going to the gym in the fitness space. I feel like I was getting into the gym when CrossFit was starting to kick off, like around that would have been maybe 2010 or 2012, something like that. So I
Yeah.
sort of have seen the rise of seen the rise of CrossFit, and it sort of feels to me that High Rocks kind of has that same sort of feel or that momentum to it. So what do you think it is about High Rocks that seems to be taking the fitness world by storm at the moment?
Yeah. I get that question quite a lot because,
Mm,
like, my background is majority in CrossFit. Like, after uni and everything, I dived right into CrossFit world. That was like 2015,
yeah.
2014. And so, yeah, I saw, like, I would say that was when CrossFit was, like, really, like, almost at its peak, I reckon.
Yeah.
And it was kicking off everywhere, all over the world. And and yeah, like just being in the industry for quite a while, knowing what kind of takes place there, I would say it is pretty similar, and it's looking like it's moving along the same lines. Um,
Mm,
yeah, I never when Hyrox popped up, I never really imagined it would be something like this already.
mhm.
It's only been a few years, and it's cracking on in a big way. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think it is about it that has allowed it to take off? Because no doubt we might not have even heard of them, but no doubt there's been other things that people have tried to start and it hasn't really built any momentum. What's different about High Rocks, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a few other sort of hybrid racing events starting to pop up, and like Deca at the same time, similar time to Hyrox. That's gained quite some traction, but nothing compared to Hyrox. Um, I kind of hope that there's going to be some more sort of hybrid races or
Mhm.
companies coming into play as well, and just gives us as athletes a bit more opportunity probably, um, and like Hyrox is just ridiculously popular, and events are selling out like crazy. So it's even hard to manage the amount of people for Hyrox right now. So
Yeah.
it would be probably good if it spread out a little bit more.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like the to your question, what makes it so popular? I think, well, just relating to CrossFit, CrossFit has quite a like the gym system is great, and the health and fitness side is great. Community within gyms, that's all like I think super successful with CrossFit. But when it comes to competing or testing your fitness or racing, like doing competitions, that's where Hyrox I think has a way better system in place. Like it's tough for even high level CrossFitters to like yeah, you got to figure out where competitions are and do these online qualifiers and all these like niggly little like videoing your workouts and just trying to qualify at the start and then you can get to the competitions. But like for the mediocre person, they're just not going to do that. So a Hyrox is so simple. Like everyone can do all the movements with a bit of fitness training, and you can do it as a pair, as a team of four. Like it's just so accessible. So there's not really, and you just sign up. You don't have to like think about trying to go through a qualifying process or any of that. Yeah, it's just way easier to get involved with a race.
Yeah. Just sounds like there's a lot fewer barriers to entry to
Exactly.
actually
Yeah.
getting into
Yeah.
it. It's funny what you
Skill,
say.
the skill and strength element for a lot of the movements in CrossFit is just too high for a lot of general people, which makes it like I'm not putting CrossFit down at all. It's just a different sport, you know.
Yeah.
I think I've done a bunch of CrossFit competitions in the past, in-person competitions, and these are some of the most fun times of my life.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like in terms of it being popular and exploding with the general population of just like casual fitness goers, it's just not going to be on the same level as Hyrox because of the accessibility to it.
Yeah, I guess that's the catch-22 to it as well, because that's probably what makes it such a good spectator sport, like seeing people snatching or power cleaning crazy weight
Yeah,
and doing stuff that you couldn't do. But then
yeah,
it means that you actually competing in it is a further away prospect than jumping into a
yeah.
Hyrox comp.
Exactly. Like they both kind of are similar in that aspect though, because in CrossFit, like they'll do all these movements and lift these weights and things. And if you do CrossFit in your local gym, then like sort of more or less what they're going through to get through that workout, and you can sort of understand like, oh man, if I was doing that workout, I'd be using 40 kilos for those snatches, and
Yeah,
they're using 80.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
can kind of like it's so impressive. And then in the same uh, like the same breath with Hyrox, it is similar because you know if you've done a Hyrox or you train Hyrox, you know what it's like to do 100 wall balls or run 8K with all those stations, and you can, and if it takes you an hour and 50 minutes, then you can really like respect and like know like what it entails to do it in under an hour. It's
yeah.
like it's cool spectators. Both of them are very cool spectator sports. Yeah,
Yeah, that is so true too. Like how I've been doing it is I've been doing my weight sessions and then at the end throwing in like a little circuit or like throwing in like a few rounds on the ski erg or something like that. And I'm only doing maybe 500 meters or like 20 wall balls or something like that.
yeah,
And then seeing what you guys do, because I've been watching a bit of like the races on YouTube. That is so true, that comparison thing. I suppose maybe it's like, I don't know, if you run and your normal pace is 6 minutes per K. And then I was listening to that podcast that you did, and your 5K time was like 17 minutes or something.
yeah,
Like you have this perspective where you
yeah,
can understand just how fast or how difficult the thing is that you
yeah,
guys are doing.
yeah, yeah. No, that's
Mm.
cool.
For
Um,
people who don't actually know too much about High Rocks, maybe before we get too deep into it, can you just explain what it is from a high level and sort of how it's structured and what a race looks like?
yeah, um, yeah. I mean, it was a company founded this race, a German company, back in 2017. I'm pretty sure. They had the first. It was a little bit messy over COVID times, but they still did like a world champs during that time as well. It was like an invite only, no spectator type one. But yeah, since then it's just steadily increased, like hundreds of percent per year, basically.
Yeah.
And they've added more and more races and more countries, and yeah, the race as a whole is includes 8 kilometers of running, and after each kilometer, you do like a functional fitness station, and so those stations range from the ergs. I'll just run through it,
Mm.
1 to 8. So 1 kilometer ski erg, 50 meters of sled pushing, 50 meters of sled pulling. Um, Then burpees,
Yeah,
80 meters
nice.
of burpee broad jumps. Then we're onto the rower for a kilometer, and then 200 meters of farmer's carry, and then 100 meters of sandbag lunges, and then finish with 100 wall balls. Then you're across the finish line. And yeah, each of the implements are like um, a, a relatively like a moderate weight for like anyone can kind of do the weights. Yeah, some people might take 3.5 minutes on the warbles. Some people might take 10, but like everyone can do a rep. So the whole race is really manageable. And you can also do it in doubles, which just means you're running together and you're like teaming up on the station. So you can split up the stations however you like, and doing it in a relay format, then you're doing one run, one station, tag your next person, they do a run in a station, and you end up, there's 4-person team, so you end up doing 2 runs and 2 stations each, which is like a really fun way to do it as well. We had at the world champs this past year, we had like nations going off.
Oh, that's cool.
So we had our Kiwi team, and then yeah, England won it, and that was really exciting. Cool, also to watch for the spectators.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. It's so evident to see how accessible they're trying to make it. right? By having all of those different variations. And like you say, I mean, I suppose would you say if you went to the gym or if you've been going to the gym for a little while, you would not necessarily quickly, but be able to complete the high rock circuit? Because some of the weights still are
Yeah.
pretty heavy. Like I'm thinking maybe things like the sleds and the farmers carries and stuff. Like those are still decent weights.
Yeah, like you need to be a little bit familiar with some strength training to move, and it, like other than the sleds don't have the sled push doesn't have really much technique to it. The sled pull does,
Yeah.
um, and then all the other sort of strength, like the lunges and the farmers. I mean, farmers carry not a lot of technique to it, but like they are relatively low skill movements, and just kind of going through the movements with no to lighter weight or practicing it in your local gym. Like it's very easy to train for, and it's very easy to imagine. Like at a lower level, it's very easy to train for, and it's very easy to imagine or to like really prepare for the race because you know exactly what it entails, the distances, the weights, and you can get to a race and like you really know what you're up for.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes it better as well is not much. I mean, actually, there's usually a lot of anxiety when you start on the start line, but
Yeah.
like you
Less
know what you're getting
ambiguity,
into.
I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
How would you describe the fitness that is required for something like high rocks? And I'm thinking if you're going to run a marathon, very obvious what kind of fitness you need. If you're going to do a powerlifting competition, again, very obvious what kind of fitness you need. But when it comes to something like high rocks, there's
yeah.
such a range of things that you need to do. So how would you describe what fitness components are required?
Yeah, out of sports that existed before, I would say like a blend of CrossFit and like triathlon or any sort of
Yeah,
endurance sport with CrossFit. Like there's obviously like a strength and movement efficiency and like element to it, which you can get like all from CrossFit. And then there's obviously a massive engine side to it, which you can get from any endurance sport really. Um,
yeah,
like a lot of the top Hyroxes come from like obstacle course racing background, which is basically like cross country with a bit of like obstacles, and swimmers and cyclists and things like that. Not that many have come from CrossFit, but a lot of them have dabbled a lot in strength and in CrossFit functional fitness type training alongside endurance training. So yeah, it's really a blend of those two. I would say more than anything. You can get like you can be you could have a crazy engine and be aerobic beast, but if you don't have the strength, you cannot be good at high rocks, and vice versa. You can be like yeah, basically best powerlifter. Well, even best CrossFitter in the world is not going to have a chance with the best at the high rocks because they're just going to be too heavy, too muscle bound, and they can't cover that. Just like if you're going hard for an hour, there's just too much toll on the system. They can't hold their paces on the runs really.
yeah. Because I suppose, yeah, if you are looking at the duration of the workout too, obviously there's specific things that you have to do, but just the
Yeah,
duration as a whole, like it's always around that sort of 50 minutes to an hour kind of mark for the top guys, right? So
yeah.
that's a
That's an
long time to
endurance
be,
race. Yeah.
yeah, to be pushing it for that long too. What would your average heart rate be, do you think, in a high rocks event?
Well, my watch tells me I'm pretty much in the red zone all the time. Like 40 to 50 minutes of the 1 hour. Um, and so, yeah, it's like over 170. Yeah.
Wow.
It gets up
And
there like basically by the second run and then pretty much stays there.
yeah, to stay there for like an hour at 170, especially when you're
Yeah.
that fit too. Like that's high for a person who's not that fit, but for someone like you who's super fit, getting up that high it shows you how hard you're working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it's quite different from athlete to athlete. Like, um, yeah, I'll be in the red zone I can be in the red zone for an hour according to my watch. I don't know how accurate it is, but
yeah,
um, that's what I go by. And then like I know a lot of other people are talking about like their running pace or like top athletes are talking about their running paces like their sort of zone 3 pace, uh, and yeah, for me in a Hyrox, I'm running at like basically my 10K pace,
Hmm.
whereas some are running at like even close to their marathon pace, right? So it's different from person to person. What that tells me is I'm able to uh, like run at a high end capacity when I'm fatigued from other movements. Whereas it's generally people that are coming from more of a endurance or running background. They are not able to hit their high end running pace in a Hyrox. But if you're coming from more like from me with CrossFit, I think this is why I'm just so used to kind of going in and out of different movement patterns, and like your body has to pump blood to your arms, then pump blood to your legs, and going back and forth. I think just years and years of that training has helped me be able to be able to run at my high end capacity under fatigue from these other movements. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how you brought up triathlon before too, because I chatted to Hayden Wild. I know him from
Oh,
back
did you?
home, and yeah, we're both from Whakatane, but he was saying the exact same thing, pretty much about triathlon, like getting used to like the lactate moving around. So going from the swimming onto the bike to the running, and then like changing that order up, so the
Yeah.
body like doesn't necessarily just get used to
Yeah.
always doing the same order of things. But it's funny that, yeah, you mentioned triathlon, and that's something that he brought up, was the
Yeah.
ability to change between the disciplines.
Yeah. I think as well. Like I don't do much. I mean, I don't do any swimming now, but I think just general triathlon training mixed with strength training is a real good way to go for high rocks.
Yeah.
And with triathlon training as well, you can get a lot of volume of work in, and you're not not just running. You're not pounding away on your joints and ligaments that you need for running. It's just a high impact sport, running. So to be able to swim and bike to get a lot of your aerobic volume in is real beneficial to just build your engine further without doing damage.
Yeah.
And I've been training a few triathletes lately that want to try a Hyrox, and yeah, like when I first introduced them to sort of compromise running, right? Like they're used to it coming off the bike and then running, right? But you kind of in triathlon, you get off the bike and you're like, oh, the legs feel a bit wobbly or whatever, and like you take the first 5 minutes to kind of like ease into a rhythm, and then you're away, and then you kind of are in your running pace or whatever. In Hyrox, yeah, you get off the sled push and you take a couple of minutes to kind of get back to your running pace and like kind of flush out the legs, and it's like, okay, I'm starting to feel like I'm running okay again now, and then bam, you're into the sled
Yeah.
pull. It's like it's just in and out constantly.
Yeah.
So it's like compromise running for triathlon is like for Hyrox, it's like on steroids. It's just in
Yeah.
and out and in and out.
You can never really build that rhythm, because
Yeah.
what would your running times be for your 1K? So probably less than 4 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, like in the 3:30s to 3:40s. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's quick. Yeah, there's no chance to settle into a rhythm after
No,
30
no.
seconds. Oh, that's a good
you
point.
you just get back to pace and hope you can hold on.
Yeah, yeah, fingers crossed, eh?
Yeah,
So, from the things, like obviously I was doing a bit of research on you, listening to some podcasts and watching some stuff. Is it your best race time is 56 minutes 3 seconds? Is that right? From
that's right.
Stockholm? Is that
Yeah,
still right?
yeah.
Yeah. What would you say are the factors that went into you putting together a personal best race like that?
Yeah, I don't know if that was my best race or not, but like I don't know, things seemed to click together there. I do know it was like a pretty fast course, and a lot of people were PBing their times. Just 3 weeks before that, I raced the major in Chicago, and I was like I had a fever and I was sick, and I just pretty much bombed it and went 63 minutes. So
Yeah.
like 7 minutes in 3 weeks yeah, of course I was sick, but still I don't think that like course plays a big role probably 2 minutes ish. Like I think realistically, when I did that race in Stockholm, like on an average course, it would have been like 58 flat.
Hmm.
That's my opinion. Some people might think differently, but I don't think I was in like true 56 shape for that. But I was stoked that it happened because it gave me a good time for qualifying now.
Yep. Yeah.
um, and what went into that, like, yeah, it's just accumulation of a whole lot of training. Like on
Hmm.
race day, you just put your head down and do what your body allows you to do. But what really made that is obviously the training and just years of grinding. Um, for my training, I never really do much in terms of periodization or yeah, like building volume towards a peak and things like that. I really just try to kind of push that barrier all the time, and just keep myself as fit as possible all the time, and then change little elements to kind of push certain elements of my fitness a little further. But I'm always doing like a high volume for me, and
Hmm.
um, and I think sometimes it can be a little bit lucky where you're going to peak if your training is like how I do it, and then also you can be a little lucky with how you deload or before a race, right? Like I've done a bunch of different variations of deloads before the race, like a week out, and that one obviously seemed to work on that day, and I did the same thing the next race, and I didn't have quite as good race. So like you never know. There's so many factors. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's almost like it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what
Yeah,
it was. It's
yeah,
funny you mention about the course because when I was doing some sled pushes at the gym the other day, and there's this like slight dip in the floor, and I was thinking, and that like would stop your momentum, and it made me think that all of these courses, if there was like more friction under the sled, or I don't know, there's like all these little factors about like how you mentioned it was a fast course. It just got me thinking that man, there are little factors about each course that
mm.
could make it more or less difficult, like
Yeah.
even the floor surface.
For sure, the sleds are probably the biggest turning point with that. Like, so I've done a whole lot of races by now, and I can guarantee you that every sled is not going to feel the same.
Yeah,
Sometimes you'll even find like they'll need just the where the sled course is laid. There might be like a cable track underneath, like the middle of the sled, right? So
yeah,
it'll be just like a couple of millimeters raised, and you just need that tiny bit extra effort to just get over that piece
yeah,
every length. And yeah, there's tiny little factors like that. The sled probably varies more than anything else. Like other than that, it's how many turns you've got to make on the running track and how many like up and down laps you've got to do on like the farmers or the lunges or the burpees. It could make you add a little like a few extra reps if there's more turns.
yeah,
And obviously slow you down if there's more turns on the run. But yeah, it's really minor. I reckon that it could vary 2 minutes from a race to a race. But I also think it's getting better and better. Like
yeah,
I would say a couple of years ago, like yeah, at least 2 minutes. And this season I haven't seen many races, but it's looking to like so far the ones I've seen, it's looking to line up pretty well with what you would expect. So
mm,
I think that they're constantly working on it really hard because they want to make it as like uniform as possible for these times to actually like be fair and everything.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they're doing
Standardizing it, right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
exactly. So
Yeah,
I think it's getting better and better, and we'll see over the course of this season how much better it is. But yeah, I think there's some things that they just cannot control, and there's some venues that like if they're going to be doing over 50 races around the world, like not every country, not every city has these uniform like facilities as well. You've
yeah,
got to adapt the race course a little bit to these different buildings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. And especially if it's like winter or summertime, or like there's so many different
Yeah,
variables
true,
that
true.
go into
Like
it, especially
in
doing it
Nice, and
indoors.
yeah, I remember my first World Champs in Las Vegas. It was so hot outside, but they had it all air conditioned, so it was totally fine to race.
Yeah.
And then this year in Nice, it was really hot in there. I was just melting in the warm up. Um, yeah, so it was yeah, the humidity and the heat. I think for a lot of people plays a massive factor. If you're not used to the heat and you get a hot race, you're in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, it just lifts the heart rate, right? The
Yeah,
body's
it's the
just
heart
under
rate, and you just
stress. Yeah,
sweat a whole lot more, and yeah, you're just gonna like all your you're going to be depleted way quicker.
yeah,
Um, so you need to make sure you're getting that hydration in around the course when it's hot for sure. Dumping water on your head if you need to. Yeah, you got to pay attention to the conditions because that can make or break a race also.
yeah. And when it comes to the psychological elements of it, maybe starting off with, how do you visualize or sort of compartmentalize a race? Like, where is your head at when you're in it? Because I assume you're probably not trying to think about the whole race from the start, because that might be a
Mm-hmm.
bit overwhelming. How do you sort of, yeah, compartmentalize it or visualize it?
Yeah. First of all, like before the race, there's no way around being pretty terrified before you step up on the start line. Like if you've put in a big effort in training and everything, like it obviously means a lot to you. And if it means a lot to you, you obviously want to perform well. And like you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and there's nothing anyone else can really say or do to like take that pressure away from you if you put it on yourself. So you just need to like accept that it's going to be really nerve wracking, accept that you're going to stand on the start line, you'll be shitting your pants a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, it's just and then when you start, I like to kind of look at just what kind of comforts me a little bit is like I know how to run a 330k on that first run. I know how it feels like. I know how to ski at like 147 pace on that first ski. I'll just commit to those paces. Like, don't worry about what everyone else is doing, and just trust your training, trust the process of the whole duration of the race that you're going to be able to. If people are flying out in front of you, um, trust that you're on your pace and you're going to maximize your time for you. Because at the end of the day, it's really a time trial for everyone. I think sometimes people, especially at the high level, I think people get caught up in trying to race each other and like tactically take on each other, you know, and like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to push here, push there, whatever. But like at the end of the day, I think it's a time trial. If I'm going to run my best time, then I'm going to beat the most people.
Yeah.
And to run my best time, I know how I need to pace it. Um, I'm not going to run my best time if I do a 3:15 first lap with Sandy and Alex.
Yeah.
It's going to blow me up and I'll be spat out the back immediately. So, yeah, like you got to understand your abilities and just chip away one station, one run at a time. I think everyone at the top level has talked about that, like how they break down the races. Just get through this run, get through this ski, get through this run. Like just
Mm.
taking a block at a time, you know?
Yeah, that is interesting with it. Like you being so standardized and you know what you're going to do. Your
Mm,
pace in training is the pace that you're going to do in the race. Just because that guy's running faster or skiing
yeah,
faster
yeah.
doesn't mean that you should. That's an interesting way of putting
Yeah,
it. And
I think that's what a lot of people make a mistake of is because they've done a bit of a deload. They feel amazing. The adrenaline is through the roof. There's this
yeah,
pumping music. They've got all these training partners right now, and
yeah,
they take off and they're just like, they don't feel anything. You're numb. That first K is like, man, you could go like 30 seconds faster easy than you would normally do in training. But
yeah.
that doesn't mean you're fitter. It'll just
No,
hit you harder later. So, you got to be pretty like disciplined at the start and like actually feel like really comfortable on the first run, and then the pain will start to settle in, and you'll be like, okay, that was a right pace. But if you go too hot, that pain will settle in real quick and real fast, and you'll have to back off.
yeah. Where does your mind go when you have to? I'd say it's almost inevitable that you have to push through some pain in a race. Like where does your
Yeah.
mind go when you have to push through pain?
Um, like it's real present, I would say. It doesn't
Hmm.
go anywhere. It's like right there, just like
Yeah.
um, trying to trying to just figure out how to just keep pushing, and just how to stay like just below that red line. Like I talk about the red line a lot because it's I think if you cross over it, you're going to blow up and you're pretty doomed. But if you can just push right underneath it, uh, and just kind of hold that intensity through the whole duration of the race, you'll be able to maximize your performance. So yeah, like when it starts really sucking, you can use other pieces of like things around you for a bit of motivation, like, oh, don't let this person pass me, try to catch this person, like hold this pace, like stay even with this person, and yeah, listen to the crowd and like try to suck some motivation out of different things. But yeah, it is also really internal. You just got to be willing to suffer. Like I do it all the time in training, so I'm pretty well like in tune with like how my body feels when I'm going too hard or too easy, or so like it's not much of a guessing game for me, if you know what I mean. Like it's
Yeah.
like I know when I'm giving it my best effort, and I know when I'm backing off too much or going too hard. So it's just like just do it.
Yeah. What do you think allows you to be able to sort of take it on with that sort of mindset? Is it a matter of training? Do you think that's just your mindset, or is it a learned behavior? You know, I'm thinking if people want to get into a race, it's not even necessarily racing, I guess, or even just getting to the gym, training, pushing through when the internal dialogue is telling them not to. You know, what is it that you've learned or acquired over time that allows you to push through those barriers?
um, I can never remember not doing it.
Hmm.
Like not like pushing to the limit. Playing ball sports when I was a kid, I'd always run until my legs fall off,
Yeah.
and gasping for air at the end of each like play or whatever. But like, and I think it comes from just a will to be to be good. I
Yeah.
want to show people that I'm good, and I want to try to prove to myself and others that yeah, like I either belong there or I can beat these people. Or yeah, I just really, really want to
Hmm.
win.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to. Like
Yeah.
it's not rocket science. I just really freaking want to win, like really bad. So you're willing to sort of do some pretty good damage to your body, or
Yeah.
work really hard in training and send it in races to yeah prove to yourself and prove to others that you if you really want to win, you'll go there for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that mentality. I've dealt with a lot of people coaching and just training with people in the past where man, this person has more talent than me. And it almost like hurts me, but I'm like, man, you should pursue this.
Yeah.
Like
Use
train
your
with me every
potential.
day. Like do what I do, and I guarantee you'll be better than me. And but they don't like it's not their priority. You know, they're not willing to, or they have other things they're interested in, or they're just not competitive.
Yeah.
So like it's not. Yeah, that's why this stuff like top athletics, like it's so much more mental than physical. You
Hmm.
obviously need some talent, but like physically, but most of that talent is mental. I
Yeah.
would say, yeah,
Yeah. Because if you, like you say, you could have all the physical capabilities in the world, but if you don't have a willingness to take your body to that red line, like you
yeah,
say, and
yeah,
consistently and hold it there, you're not
yeah.
gonna realize your
And
potential.
to be honest, everyone can kind of do it on race day. Like the race is not really the test of mental fortitude or whatever. Like 9 out of 10 people that sign up for that race, they're gonna give it their best shot. But it's not about that. It's about in your training. Like if you're giving it your best shot in training, then okay, you're like mentally tough because yeah, when the music's pumping, there's tons of people around you. People are cheering you on. Your time's going to go up on the website. Like everyone's going to hear about it. Like that's plenty of motivation to send it.
Yeah.
But no one has all that motivation when they're just in the gym training alone.
Yeah.
And that's when you've still got to give it that same, juice.
Yeah, it's like that whole idea. It's the stuff that you do when people aren't watching that matters. It's easy to
Yeah,
perform great when, like you say, you got a whole crowd looking at you. But
yeah,
what do you do when your alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and you have to train before work and it's dark and cold and
absolutely.
you don't want to get up?
Absolutely. And just like sticking to your schedule and being consistent over not just a few months, not even just like a year, just like years and years of just being super consistent, super dedicated. Maybe if you're uber talented, you can get away with a bit more, but I know for majority of people, like yeah, it's not. There's no shortcuts.
Yeah,
You've got to put in some crazy work,
yeah, and
and you
that's
can't do it if you're not passionate about it. Like um, people will like commend me on my dedication to this and the training, but I freaking love it. Like,
yeah,
and I'm passionate about fitness. I always have been. So it's not like an enormous chore. It's
yeah,
like I want to do it, and it's the same. Like, man, I tried to learn German. I live here in Switzerland. I've grinded away at it a little bit at the start, and man, that is long gone now. I've
yeah,
just given up, and a lot of people have that same sort of passion I do with fitness, with learning a language, and they have freaking 5 languages fluent in their back pocket, and that amazes me. And I'm like, damn, that dedication and like consistency and whatever the
yeah.
amount of like work it took for you to learn all those languages is very impressive to me. And yeah, like you just got to find yeah, you got to find your passion and roll with it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I was listening to it was a high performance podcast, and they interviewed James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, and exactly what you're saying there. He's like, find the thing that you find enjoyment in, and
yeah,
pursue that thing as much as you can. But we have this idea that I don't know, earning money and working and that's the stuff that's going to bring the most results. It must be difficult. If it's difficult, then it must, it's going to bring results.
mm,
But it's almost the opposite. What if you find the thing that you enjoy the most
yeah,
and pursue that and turn that into a thing? It doesn't have
yeah,
to feel like you're pushing shit uphill for it
yeah.
to bear fruit,
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm not saying it's easy because I love it. Like
Yeah,
there are still obviously a ton of days, a ton of sessions that are a real grind, and you just like I take it as almost like I'm just on autopilot most of the time. Just like this is what I do, so I'm just going to turn up and do it, and that's for training and nutrition and sleep and everything around it. It's just that's just my lifestyle. That's what I do, and yeah, like I do it only because I'm passionate about like the results and the process.
yeah.
But if I didn't have mad respect for elite fitness, then like I wouldn't be motivated to do it. I
No.
wouldn't do it.
If it's for any other like a superficial reason,
Yeah,
there's no way like the stuff, the hours that you put
yeah.
in when people aren't watching.
Yeah, because
There's
there's a
no
lot of
way that you
elements
could
of
do
life that I'm very lazy with, um, and my wife
that.
can tell you that.
That language, learning a language is such a funny example.
Oh my
My
god,
my
it's tough.
nana, she's French, so I'm
Yeah,
like, there's been so many. Even at uni when I did my degree, I like took a French paper, then
yeah.
kind of stopped, and then we moved over here, and we've obviously gone to France a few times. I'm like, oh, and the Duolingo, and then I just end up stopping. Then like
Man,
that's
Duolingo was a big part of my life for a while. Yeah,
but then like you give up on that and then oh you're still going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week but you're still doing all these things that you've done for over a decade but then
yeah.
these other things there's just something about them that just
Mind.
just don't click.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, true.
but when it comes to your race strategy, you sort of already alluded to these things a bit, but your strategy and the idea of conserving energy, because when I think about something like Hyrox, I haven't competed in it, but just the theory of it, it seems like a lot of it is energy conservation for the next thing, like and
Yeah,
not blowing up too early. So what is your general race strategy and what does conserving energy look like?
yeah. Yeah, so like I think a mistake a lot of people make is like how we said mentally about like compartmentalizing each section of the race and just chipping your way through. Like that works to like mentally get yourself through it. But in a big picture and talking about conserving energy, you actually need to think about the race as a whole as well. Because if you just think, oh, I can ski this 1K at a certain pace, like I can do that, but you got to think, and you can put out this amount of power to do that. But you want to think about, okay, if your race is 1 hour or more or less 1 hour, you need to pace for a 1 hour race. So what I think about is like just like having the same amount of output throughout the hour. So
Mm.
obviously on some elements you need to like give it a bit more oomph. Like on the sled push, it's not going to move if you're giving it the same amount of power as when you're running the 1Ks.
Yeah.
So just like breaking up the distances or the reps on some of these movements in a smart way where your power is distributed throughout that station evenly. Like if you have if you have an 80-meter burpee broad jump, you do the first 40 meters in 45 seconds, and then the next 40 meters in a minute and a half. Then yeah, like you have not paced that section well. You've obviously like gone out too hot and then blown up. Same with the lunges and even the wall balls. You need to kind of know your capacity on that station, on that movement, and then make sure first of all that you're like evening out your power throughout the station, and then second of all leaving that station with the juice to continue. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of like, say you've got a zone 2 run in your plan, and your heart rate's up at 155, then it's down to 130, and then it's at one, and you're
Yeah.
fluctuating this whole time, whereas you want to be 135 BPM the whole time or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
it's like a consistent effort throughout,
Yeah.
even though it's different stations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
that's an
sure.
interesting way of rooting it.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell a lot of people is just keep your effort even, or your power output even throughout the whole duration of the race. If
Mm.
you're let's just talk about watts. Like if you're starting out and you're producing 200 watts, and then by the end of the race you're barely producing 100,
Yeah,
then you've done something wrong. You want to kind of basically if you just segmented the workout in 10-minute blocks, the power output or the wattage on each block should be about the same. Yeah.
yeah. And it seems like the discipline there, like I think you kind of already said it as well, but the discipline there is to not go hard, even though it feels like you can go hard.
Yeah, yeah. And the fitter you are, the harder you'll be able to go. Like just for example, I do did like a zone 2 bike erg yesterday for an hour with a friend, and my fitness is higher than his. So
Mm.
my zone 2 was for an hour with like it felt really hard. Like I had to push to like stay in that zone 2 the whole time. But for him, he's like chatting. He's like, and I'm like, check your heart. Like, what are you at? And he's like going above zone 2. I'm like, so it just feels at a lower, like it's a higher perceived effort for the same heart rate for me
Wow.
compared to him on that.
Yeah, I've never
So
thought about it like that. Because if you do hold a lower heart rate, say a zone 2, I don't know, let's say 130 BPM,
mm,
but if you go out on a run and it's only at 100 BPM, so you're saying you'd have to work harder to get it up to,
exactly. When I
yeah,
started running for Hyrox, like I did like if I was to run it, I never ran in zone 2 because it felt pathetic.
yeah,
Um, and and I would do an hour run at 5 minute pace, and my heart rate would be averaging like almost 170.
yeah,
And now that pace is like easy zone 2, but it's not. At the start, trying to run in zone 2, like it felt like I wasn't doing anything. It was a really easy workout.
yeah,
But now, like doing a considerably long run in zone 2, like it's still pretty tough,
yeah,
I still feel it. Like I'm still moving pretty well.
yeah,
That's the thing, because your pace increases. You're not necessarily like a faster runner across like a 400 meter. Like I'm not
mm,
any faster across 400 meters than I was at the start, um, but yeah, to just withstand a pace for a long duration is now much easier.
Yeah, well, that's the difference, right? It's top end speed, say a sprint, versus how long can you hold a fast speed for.
Yeah.
Those are two very different things.
Yeah, I reckon you see that with like a lot of CrossFitters can actually run like a mile really fast. You saw it at the CrossFit Games, um, like Ricky Garrard, for example, went under 5 minutes for a mile. Um, and I think there's a lot on the women's side as well. But I think when like their differential between like their 1K or their 1K all out effort to their half marathon is a way bigger difference than like ours would be. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was chatting to Sam Tanner. He's like a 1,500 meter runner who competed at the Olympics, and he's mates with Hayden. And he was saying he could run a K faster than Hayden can run a K, but
Yeah,
then Hayden could consistently run Ks faster
yeah,
than he could
yeah,
run them. And
yeah,
that was just a difference. And he was just saying like the ability to handle lactate and how like consistently you can hold that speed.
yeah.
And it's that
Yeah,
idea
it's
again.
something
Yeah.
I've really noticed change in my training over like since starting Hyrox is yeah, like not necessarily paces are getting better, but the ability to withhold that pace for longer durations is just getting better. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think it would take for you to win a High Rocks world champ? Like, what do you think it would take for you to be the best High Rocks competitor in the world?
I just do not have right now the speed in my running.
Hmm.
If Yeah, I basically need to get better at running. I think on the stations I can be good enough to be able to hang with the top guys. If you just took out the running time and just looked at the overall station time, I can hang with a lot of them. But yeah, when it comes to the running, it's been improving for sure. Over the summer, I've seen some good improvement. So we'll see next week in Amsterdam if it all comes together well. But yeah, like if you just take our 5K, 10K pure running times, like I'm out the back from most of the top Hyroxes. So
What
yeah, I would say running is still where I need to improve the most for sure.
what sort of uh, tools or techniques are you employing to
Mm.
improve your running time?
I would say yeah, like since World Champs, the whole summer I've really just um, I've really just had a handful of workouts, literally 6 workouts, and I've rotated through 3 every week. So each week is slightly different, but basically I've got a threshold running session, a speed running session, and a like kind of more endurance running session, and I just rotate through these week on week on week, and I've seen some pretty good progress just keeping it super consistent, basic, um, with doing the same workouts every week, and just recording sort of heart rate, paces, and just seeing them slowly go down. Like I like the idea of just slowly improving over a really long time.
Yeah,
It seems super methodical or like boring to a lot of people, but at the point I am now, like the effort it takes to improve my fitness is so hard.
yeah,
So I'm happy with just like incremental changes, and doing my running sessions like this helps me really just analyze the data and see like know exactly what's working, and like I've seen reasonable progress over the last 3 months doing that. So I'm just going to keep it rolling until I like really it's an obvious plateau, um, and then maybe adjust something. But I've taken that same sort of approach now with my strength training, just kind of organizing it in a way that in the workouts that I think give me the best bang for my buck, and just rolling with those week on week on week, and just trying to see this incremental progress. Like a lot of guys will be trying to sort of, like have a base building phase, and then like a speed phase, and then like get specific at the end. Yeah, I get specific with like Hyrox train, like movements and things by the end, before a race, but I'm just keeping this base of like um, yeah, 5x5 on the strength movements and this threshold speed and endurance running sessions, and just keeping that base and seeing slow improvements over time.
Yeah, and especially for someone like you who's getting closer and closer to your ceiling when it comes to all of this stuff, those
Yeah,
incremental gains would be so much harder to find than someone who's just starting out. Like if
yeah,
your PB 5K time is 30 minutes, like
yeah.
there's heaps of room to
You
improve.
can
But if
drop
you're,
minutes. Yeah,
yeah, but when it's a matter of seconds
yeah,
or grams on a bar or
exactly.
something,
I'm
it,
just looking for like 1 or 2 seconds on a threshold run. I'm looking for like a couple of beats on the heart rate on a long run. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm stoked when it's just yeah those micro changes. Just what I need to do to maintain my fitness is is really a shitload of work
yeah,
and really specific as well. So um, yeah, like the goal for me with my training is just to have these sort of workouts and structure and volume and everything that I know can maintain my fitness, and then making tiny little tweaks and adjustments to just get those incremental pushes forward in certain areas, which is mostly focused on getting that running up.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you,
and
you
all
coach
yeah,
yourself then?
I coach myself. Yeah,
Yeah,
um, all summer as well. I've been like a bit nervous about getting too much volume on the running because I did have a stress fracture leading into World Champs last season in my foot, so I really had to lay off running for a long time. So, I mean, we all know that just consistency over time is what like the top athletes have done to stay there, and so I'm really nervous about pushing that running volume too high. Um, to make stuff like that come back. So
yeah,
I have done a lot of biking and a lot of erg work, and sort of kept my running between 40 and 50k a week, and a lot of it is on the runner, which like an assault runner in my
yeah,
gym, which for me is a lot less impact and just like I can recover much easier somehow from that. The paces and stuff on the runner for me are the same as if I'm doing that same workout on the track. Uh, but yeah, the impact on the body afterwards and the ability to recover and then hit another hard running session 2 days later is much better if some of them at least are on the runner.
yeah. And that's the catch 22 with something like running because it is high impact. Even if you
Yeah,
have good technique and all of that kind of stuff, it's
yeah,
still really high impact compared to cycling or
yeah,
swimming or
yeah.
rowing or something like that. So,
So I was talking about with triathlon before as well, like to build that aerobic volume and just base engine, then using these other implements, other movement patterns are real beneficial because your lungs and heart doesn't know if you're running or biking.
that's the thing.
It's just yeah, it's just in that heart rate zone or whatever, and it's working. Obviously, you need the specific musculature and tendon strength and stuff for running, so you need to do that. But yeah, to just train your pure engine, these other things are real valuable.
Yeah. What does your typical training week look like?
Yeah, throughout like Monday to Friday, like let's just say the last few months at least, Monday to Friday has been like more of an intense session in the morning and like easy aerobic in the afternoon. And then on Saturday, I'll do more of like a simulation style, like compromised running, especially leading closer to a race. So make sure I really put some good effort into that session. It might be 30 to 40 minutes of real like race simulation stuff on a Saturday, and then rest on Sunday.
Hmm.
Throughout the week, I'll do like 3 of the morning sessions will be pure running, and they'll be 12 to 15k of those workouts that I talked about. If I do a long run, it might be 18 in the hills, and then 2 of those days during the week, the morning session will just be pure strength. So I just go real basic. I get some Olympic lifts, and like one day I'll do a snatch, one day I'll do a like a clean and jerk, and then I'll follow it up with some powerlifting. So it'll be either a deadlift or a squat, mixed with like paired with supersetting with like a strict pull up or a bench press, And then I'll often do like a little bit of accessory strength after that, kind of more like functional bodybuilding stuff, just to get a bit more volume or hypertrophy in. And then yeah, the afternoon sessions are just aerobic. So yeah, the three intense running sessions during the week, that gets me already up to my running volume. So the afternoon I'm doing, sometimes I'll do like some hard intervals on the ski and row like once a week, but all the rest is mainly zone 2 biking, or just like biking outside, or on the C2, or just kind of a circuit through the C2 machines. And I try to usually get like an hour or so doing that. Sometimes if I'm biking outside, I'll go up to 2 hours. But yeah, that's, I would say I accumulate about 12 to 14 hours of like training a week. Um, yeah, I'm not sure how most people kind of count their hours, because like there's warm up and like
Yeah,
everything
true.
counts as well, and stretching around it and things. But yeah, I would say, yeah, the way I calculate it, it's probably about 12 to 14 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, it's
Like 11
interesting
sessions.
like
Mm.
how much variation there is in your training, like going from
Mm.
like heavy 5x5s to long runs to intervals to
Yeah,
it shows you like how many different types of bases you need to cover in order to be able to
exactly.
build your engine for high rocks.
Like 10 years ago, someone looking at my training would be like, what the hell is this guy training for?
Yeah.
Like, no idea.
It's like chucking everything in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds maybe like me telling you like there, it sounds maybe quite random and all over the place, but yeah, there's a lot of structure. I
Yeah.
spend a lot of time thinking about how, like, where to put what workouts to kind of make sure I'm fresh for these, but like recovery on the, like, like I spend, and it's not just thinking about it, but it's experimenting with it. This is a long, long time of like tweaking things week to week. And like what I've been doing the last 3 months or so, it's probably the longest period of time where I've really kind of stuck with the same structure in my week to week trainings. So yeah, we'll see how that pays off, because I'm pretty happy with like how I'm able to recover the amount of volume I'm able to put in, and like making sure I get in all the specific workouts I think are the most beneficial within the week. Um, yes, with this system that I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just sounds like your training is so tailored towards the things that you need to bring up. Like, just because that's your training plan doesn't mean that someone else would follow that and get the same results. Like, they might be
Yeah.
super fast at running, but not strong on the sled. So
Yeah.
actually, you need to be maybe incorporating more powerlifting style or
Yeah.
more strength resistance training.
Yeah,
So
and just how you like react to different training sessions as well. Like some
yeah,
people will do like 400s on the track, and they're absolutely rooted, whereas others might like bounce back from that pretty well. Some people get destroyed from a long run. Some people are totally fine, or like 5x5 back squat for some people, they're going to be in bits for a week on their legs, and like some not at all. Like so you it really takes a lot of experimenting on yourself. And I try to emphasize this to a lot of people that I coach as well, as like, it's not a one plan fits all. Like you need to experiment and like tailor this stuff for yourself, because yeah, like you can follow my plan and destroy yourself, but and it might even be too easy for some people. But yeah, you need to figure it out on yourself. That's what I love about it as well. Is just, and that's why I like coaching myself. I get a lot of pride out of like creating the product myself. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, like the fitness I've been able to create is like all through what I've done and what I've thought about, and like I've definitely pulled a lot of information out of other experts, and read stuff and watched videos and talked to people. So it's not just me, but it's I do get a lot of pride out of like putting all the pieces together and figuring it out on myself.
That's so cool. It really is like a jigsaw puzzle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
what I was talking to someone the other day about it, which I think is quite funny, is if you take my training and look what I do for like the paces on the bike and the running and the lifting and everything, like throughout the week, um, I'm a real like quite mediocre athlete. You look at my strength numbers, look at my running numbers, and it's like, yeah, this guy's pretty good at everything, but like nothing stands out as
Yeah.
flashy at all. There's thousands of guys that can pump me on all these running workouts I'm doing, and there's probably tens of thousands of guys that would destroy me on lifting. But yeah, then that Saturday session where I put it all together and do like compromised running, then there's only a few guys that can beat me. So that one's my confidence builder for the week.
Yeah.
Until then, it's just like it's just like feeling pretty mediocre every day, and then yeah, until
Yeah.
that's
I've been like getting quite into the hybrid training, and I see like some guys here. I saw this post where he's like, man, thanks, or like shout out to the guy who invented the words hybrid athlete instead of slow runner and weak lifter.
yeah, absolutely. I'm just thankful to Hyrox for inventing this sport because, like if it was around or not, like I would be going balls to the wall with my training, with probably still with CrossFit for sure, and just
Yeah.
trying to be as fit as possible. Like before Hyrox, I used CrossFit to try to express that, and I was like good but not great.
Yeah.
And I would still be doing exactly that if it wasn't for Hyrox. So yeah, I'm really thankful for Hyrox to put this sport together that kind of favors my strengths,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
It,
can actually express like my true fitness with it. Yeah,
yeah, it sort of epitomizes that whole idea of where opportunity meets hard work. Like you've already been putting in the work, and it's
yeah,
like, here we go, here's this opportunity.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
cool, you've already been putting in the work. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's so true with a lot of the top Hyrox guys and girls is they've really been unintentionally training for Hyrox or very close to it for many years,
yeah,
and then the sport came along that kind of like fits into both what they've been training for and their passion and their like strengths.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's lucky for us, I guess.
yeah. And in your week, you're kind of speaking to this cause and effect relationship and changing the plan when you need to. Do you have set time for reflection where you kind of like actually sit down and reflect upon your week or your day or your month, and then figure out what's going well, what's going bad, and make the changes? Is it a conscious
Mm.
process like that?
Yeah, no, it's not at all. I would say I don't have any time set aside for that. I just am constantly thinking about it.
Hmm.
It's just like, yeah, a little bit of thought going into it all the time. And that's where that's how the process goes, I guess. I'm not like, all right, on this Sunday, I'm going to sit down, go through uh, my workout journal and analyze it. And no, I'm just like week by week, I'm sort of just checking in on the paces and what I did last week, and just like workout to workout. Like I know my lifting numbers, I know my running numbers for every workout. So yeah, when these things start changing by a couple of seconds or a couple of kilos, like I know about it because I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah, it's like it's continuous
It's
improvement.
just a
It's
continuous flow. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And so you obviously you log everything, so that's a way of you
Yeah,
keeping the variables under control.
yeah. I mean, it's all like because I'm so, I guess, like like pretty much obsessed about it. It's all in my head, but I do write it all down. Just yeah, I just like to have it written down as well. Like I have
Yeah,
a workout journal. I hit this workout this week. I'll just flip back a page and see last week's session of the same thing, and yeah, just kind of keeping myself a little more accountable and just making sure the data's specific and up to date. I guess
yeah,
to have the journal there. Yeah, it's also cool. Like I've got like 6 books. Like I have
yeah.
like a book each year that I've been journaling my workouts in. So if you ever want to like know exactly what I've done to be the level I am, then I can just print you off like
Photocopy it.
5 years of training right there. Boom, that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
did.
yeah,
Do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the power of doing that too is that your session isn't dictated by how you quote unquote feel that day. It's not dictated by your emotions. It's like, well, no, last week I did 120 on my squats, so this week I have to do 125 or
Yeah,
122
yeah.
and a half or
Yeah,
something.
it's not like that at all. It's like, hey, last week if I did 120, I'm doing 120 again. I'll be like hoping to get a couple of kilos in a few months, like
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
progress like that. I'm not trying to, especially with the strength, I'm just trying to maintain. I've
yeah,
seen my squat strength go slowly down for the last few years, and I've been banging my head against the wall and trying to figure out how to maintain it. Um, and tried so many different methods, and I'm just like sort of at acceptance now that, okay, like I just need to do like figure out how to maintain it, because
yeah.
with all the endurance and the running training, like yeah, I just can't. Like I was kind of in the false mindset starting this, probably because of CrossFit, that you can improve everything at the same time,
Yeah.
but you really can't. I
Can
need
only
to get
spin so
better at
many
running.
plates.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like you can tell me that all you want, and people are still improving their squat and they're running at the same time. But if you went through for 8 years trying to improve your squat, and then you start running and you're trying to improve your running at a fast pace, then like you've capped out your squat by then. Like I've
yeah,
capped out my top end strength and a lot of the lifts, and I've just got to accept that I'm not going to get better at them, and I don't need to have a stronger squat, I believe. So I can still do the wall balls unbroken when there's a gun to my head.
yeah.
So it's not an absolute necessity. I think I'm still going to get more bang for my buck out of improving my running than improving my squat, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the focus has got to be.
Yeah, maybe I chose the wrong example. What I was trying to say is that you don't feel like you can squat that weight today, so I'm going to do
Oh yeah,
110 instead of 120. But your example there would be I'm still doing 120 even if I don't feel
yeah,
like I'm
yeah. But
capable of doing 120.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. You're
yeah,
right. But
yeah.
that's only because I'm like stubborn as shit and have way too much pride to drop the weight. So I sort of have these like benchmark numbers that I've got to do,
Yeah,
and like I'll die before I don't do them.
yeah,
Uh, and and yeah, I'm not trying to push past that as much. But yeah, some days I probably should drop the weight a little bit depending on what I've done. But that's why I also like the structure that I've got right now of pretty much doing the same thing every week, because my body just knows exactly like what's coming. Like, if you do a kind of out of the blue workout with 200 wall balls, and then the next day's heavy squat day, then yeah, you're gonna not perform as well. You're not gonna. It's gonna be so hard to warm up with sore legs and everything. And so this structure of kind of just having things really consistent and like only incrementally changing things. Like I've never got like I never have like the goal at least is to never have like really bad DOMs.
yeah,
Um, so I'm just kind of pushing those boundaries a little bit. Yeah, I'm always a little bit sore everywhere, but I'm never like overly sore in one area. So then I can really give good quality on with the whole body almost every day.
yeah. It's that consistency piece. It just
Yeah,
allows you
yeah,
to keep turning up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe before we wrap it up, obviously you're a coach and you got your gym, so I wanted to ask you a couple of questions that relate to people getting into high rocks. And the first one, what what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes beginners make when they first get into high rocks?
Um, yeah, just talking about with members from my gym, because that's all I really have experience
Mhm.
with people beginning in high rocks. Uh, Not listening to what I tell them to do, maybe.
Yeah.
um, like either just ramping up their running volume way too quick. That's
Yeah.
like definitely a big common mistake. You'll regret that real quick, because if you ramp up your volume and you're going from 10K a week to 30K a week within a few weeks, yeah, maybe you accumulate like, let's say, 200Ks of running over a month or two, and then you're like injured and you're backing off and you're not going to be able to do running for a couple of months. Whereas if you just slowly build it, 10 for a few weeks, 15 for a few weeks, 20 for like a month or two, and then just slowly build it up like that, you look at your overall running volume when race day comes, it's going to be a lot more than if you went real high, real low, real high, real low. And you just get that constant, consistent build, and you end up accumulating more reps on the feet. So that's one thing for sure, is just being like real cautious about the running volume and intensities. And yeah, when it comes to the movements and things, is not just beating your head against the wall of doing the same reps, same movements. Like, oh, I've got to be able to do 100 wall balls, so I'm just going to do workouts a couple of times a week of 100 wall balls. No, do like heavy thrusters, do your back squats, do like do a variation of movements. When it comes close to the race, you got to dial in, and like more so to get confidence on the specific movement when you get close to the race, is like start getting some of those in. But like keeping it well varied and functional. Know the movement patterns you need to be strong and good strength endurance in, and do workouts with like those movement patterns, but not necessarily always the same movements. Like you don't want to be doing like so many lightweight walking lunges. Do some heavy ones, low rep. Do some even lighter than race weight, high rep. Like mix it up. Make sure you're not, like I said before, make sure you're not getting crazy DOMs from each workout. You want to play the long game. Think about like your next few days of training, not just trying to like be a big hero on this workout today and do a million reps of wall balls. Like, no point.
Yeah, and that's such a common theme of the ability to keep turning up. It's like that's just like what you keep hammering home. It's like train so you can keep turning up. Yep, train hard, but you also want to be able to train hard again tomorrow and next week and next week, and then it's like the transference, I suppose that would be, right? Like, like you say, doing wall balls doesn't mean you have to do lots of wall balls. What movements transfer across into those different things?
I do hardly any wall balls. Just leading into a race a few weeks out, I'll touch on it, but I hardly touch wall balls for most of the summer. But like yesterday, I just finished off that 60-minute zone 2 bike erg right into 100 wall balls, just to like make sure I have it.
Still got it.
Still got it. We're good. So then that was like, I knew I have the capacity. It's just like, do it for a bit of confidence, do it for the mentality. But it's not going to necessarily make me way better doing the specific movement with the specific rep scheme. Yeah.
Cool. Before we wrap it up, one last question. What are your upcoming plans? You've got, what is it, Amsterdam in how long? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, did you say?
Yeah, next week. Thursday night is Amsterdam, the first major of the season. I was lucky to hold my qualifying spot for that, because it's based on your best 2 times within a year. And then hopefully I keep my qualification there for the second major, which will be in Hong Kong.
Cool.
I'll very, very likely go to that, I'd say, if I'm in. And then, like the goal in these first 2 majors is to, like I said, time trial it, try and get as fast a time as possible to keep my average in the top 15, so I can do those majors at the second half of the season as well.
Epic, man. All the best. Amsterdam's so close too. I would have loved to have popped over, but we're going to be in Croatia, unfortunately. But
oh, really?
Oh, actually,
watch it online.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What did they live stream it on? YouTube,
they should do. It should be live streaming with commentary. So
sweet.
It should be a good show.
Yeah, and actually the Manchester one, that's the Grand Central. That's across the road from the building I'm in right now. Across the road from work. But yeah, if I like knew that you were competing in Hyrox before that, I like 100% would have gone along. It was I was watching the men's highlights. That's how I found you. Yeah. Then I was like, oh shit, there's a Kiwi in there. Yeah, man. Thanks heaps. I appreciate your time. That was really insightful chat. It was good to learn more about Hyrox. I don't know much about it at all. Just sort of dabbling in it. It's taking the fitness world by storm. So yeah, I appreciate your time.
Sign up for one now, then, Cam.
Well, it's funny you say that because me and Chloe, my partner, we tried to sign up for the January one, but they're obviously just so busy, like we didn't even hear back.
Okay.
They're like sold out now.
Yeah.
But
You got to be onto it, when they announce it, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, that's what I could go to. You got to jump on it. It's
yeah. Has it made it to New Zealand yet?
yeah, it's first one is happening in February.
Oh,
And is at the Auckland Showgrounds. It's
yeah.
going to be an outdoor run, I've heard,
Oh,
like a
there we
one
go.
lap outdoor run. So it should be pretty fast, barring the
Yeah,
weather's all right, which
yeah,
could not very well not be.
yeah. That's a variable that you can't predict
You
too
never
well.
know in Auckland. Like, it could be
Oh, cool.
anything.
Yeah, maybe I do
But
one when we get back home then.
yeah,
Oh
but
well.
there's been a few Kiwis racing in the Aussie races and the Asian races,
Yeah,
and there's a few good guys and girls coming up. So yeah, it's
keep our eyes
exciting.
peeled.
Yeah,
Cool. All the best for Amsterdam, man. And
thank
we'll
you.
talk soon.
Yeah.